It's the flip man. You want some money in your hand? Flipping houses without credit or your cash. Hit that bag.
Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. We are live today, June 15th. I have my guy here, Luke Smith. Some of you all may be familiar with him. Some may not be. We're live streaming on his channel. So some of you all may be familiar with me. Some of you all may not be. So I'm Ty, aka the Flip Man. We talk real estate. We do real estate deals. I come more from the wholesale world, started in houses, do some land, some commercial. And Luke, I think more so started in land and now more targeted toward commercial. With that being said, you know what to do. You're here on both of our channels, like, share, subscribe, follow. We're live on my Facebook, one of my Facebook pages, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, and Instagram, and we're live on Luke's
YouTube
channel. So good morning, Luke.
Morning. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for coming on. That's fun. We published a video just recently, if you guys are watching videos on my channel, where we went out and we started studying for QSRs, quick service restaurants in Alabama, where you're at, Ty, and looking for good locations. I think it's fun to work on vacant land and vacant building and add value to those with a tenant. If we can get the right tenant to go into those properties, we can create a lot of equity. We can create a lot of value for those properties and turn around and realize that value. The same idea as wholesaling, just a little different flavor. And I've learned that working with vacant land, and my background's vacant land. Done a lot of vacant land trade over time, and buying land, selling land all over the place, and learning about land and figuring it out. And I got stuck with some high traffic commercial properties that I couldn't figure out until I found a tenant for them. And I started realizing that other people have that same problem when they get stuck with these kinds of properties. They sit on them for years. They put signs out front, and the sign will, melt in the sun and fall down, and the realtor or broker will be long gone, and the landowner will still be there, and they'll find the next broker and the next dealer and the next promoter. It might be 5 or 10 promoters later before we come along and ask them if we can work on their property, and they're glad to hear from you. It's different than classic vacant land where a house goes, or vacant houses where you might want to fix them up and put a tenant in there. There's a lot less competition, and people are more willing to work with you, and they want to have the problem solved. It's a classic real estate trade where we go solve people's problems, a different way of solving people's problems. And so I think Ty is really creative at contacting these people, reaching out to these people, marketing real estate deals. And these kinds of deals are sitting there without much attention, and we could work on them and make them happen. So we're joining forces here and working on these kinds of properties. In this previous video, we targeted properties in Alabama that were under the guise that maybe we could put a Bojangles there. We studied Bojangles, and we looked at what kind of properties it took for Bojangles to be, building or working on or retrofitting old building to go there. We looked at a lot of different attributes, and we went backwards from there. And we used AI. We used Google Gem, or Google Gemini's Gem, like their version of a project, or what do you call it in OpenAI, Ty? You said it before. GPT.
So they call it GPTs. They skills now. They like say projects. A couple of names they've given them over the several months. So.
Yeah, Microsoft would call it a file, or a group, a box, a pile, whatever, of data. And today's market, you can just throw it in a pile and AI can slice and dice it. You don't have to have it so organized. And we got the information of where Bojangles is and where they aren't, who their neighbors are. We looked up who their neighbors are, and with the correlation of who their neighbors are and how much business the neighbors are doing, we asked AI for more locations in Alabama that Bojangles should go based on those neighbor correlations where they're not yet. And we started digging in, and we found a couple properties, started making some calls, and I thought we could pick up on that. As we kept looking into the most prospective market, we found an error in the data. We're like, this is where Bojangles should be, and Bojangles is right there in the corner. So it's kind of a confirmation of the data. It's not always perfect, but these sites are not always just Bojangles sites. The idea of setting the bar high enough for one of those brands, whatever the brand might be that you're looking for, you're trying to figure out, gets you into the better markets for other brands too. Other brands will want to be there. These are going to be more competitive, or maybe more desirable places for these brands to be. And I think that should make it easier for us to do deals on these properties. So you want to pick up where we left off last time, Ty? Or do you want to do a different date?
Well, I know we were on the search for a Bojangles, and I know you talked to different retailers, QSRs. Who else may be interested in any particular market or state? It doesn't obviously have to be Alabama. It can be anywhere.
Yeah.
What's on your radar right now?
Yeah, it's there's always some good ones. I'm in Southern California. I don't know if you want to start looking at the high dollar price ones in California, but there's a chicken shop, El Pollo Loco, who's been growing really well. El Pollo Loco is it's like grilled chicken. They display it in front of you, and they serve it up with rice and beans and taco shells and things like that. They do a lot of sales for like corporate lunch or parties, or trays of massive quantities. They do a lot of those kinds of sales. They like really they like higher income neighborhoods. They like busy street corner, good looking shops.
Is it similar to Chipotle? Is it similar to Chipotle, or?
Yeah, it's similar to Chipotle. They'll do a little bit bigger square footage. And so we could find land, we could bulldoze something and build for them. We could find shop that we could remodel, rework, and put them in there. And I know they're looking for locations in Southern California, and they're corporate backed. So this would be the corporate guys. This would be the best credit. This would be a tenant. This would be the company, right? And so if we found the right location for them, it's going to be a lot easier to pull off because of the credit's going to be awesome. And so when we got awesome credit like that, the financing is really easy. We go to get money to buy the building or to buy the land to make it theirs and rent it out to them. We don't need to bring money to the table. We go to the bankers and they ask for the tenant's credit. And they're like, El Pollo Loco, corporate backed lease. They don't ask for my credit rating. They don't ask for my bank account. They don't ask for my assets. They don't ask for my stuff. They ask for the tenants. That's a beautiful thing, right? And they'll give you 100% of the money to go pull it off. They'll give you the money to buy the building, to fix it for them, to make it whatever that tenant wants. And then you can lease it to them, and you could keep the spread. You could keep the difference in rent, or you could just go sell it. You could go sell it triple net style in the markets, and people buy that stuff really fast and easy because of the it's like turning the land into a financial asset. I don't know if you can hear the background. Got the neighbor dog and sirens going off in the background. This dog goes for it when the sirens go. I got out of the house today because my kids they had a sleepover. It's summertime and a bunch of friends over, and I had to go. I'm in the backyard instead of the house.
Yeah, no problem.
So if
You got
you're up for that, I think that one's really looking. There's lots of versions we could do. I would start by going on Crexy and looking at what these things are, see if we could find some examples on the market, learn from those, and go back and start using data to see what locations are out there that we could go rework into one of them. Are you up for it?
Oh yeah, let's get it.
Okay. So I'm gonna share screen, and I saw present. This is a new format for me, so just give me a second here.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I found it.
There we go.
Okay, so Crexy.com, for those of you who don't know, Crexy is commercial real estate exchange or something like that. And this website is got a lot of good information, free to use. This is like your Zillow for commercial real estate. And one of the cool things you can do with this website is you can put the brand name in there. So if we put El Pollo Loco, if I can spell, we should get some El Pollo Locos. Not we want the for sale. I'm going to do it for the for sale ones. And what we're doing here is we're learning. So this is our learning exercise. So to learn of what we're going to go search for or try to create. And so if we start looking at these things on the market, we can learn. Here's one in Georgia. No, Pollo Campo, new El Pollo Loco, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Okay, let's see what this one is. So they're asking $4.3 million. It's been on the market for 100 days, so it's probably a little overpriced. We got a couple brokers here I don't know on it. So they've got a Taco Bell across the street. They've got an Albertsons, a grocery store across the street. They got a McDonald's next door. This is busy street corner, right? Like we got a whole bunch of traffic. This one says 17,000 cars a day. This one says 33,000 cars a day. And you can see that there's a bunch of different lanes. So on this road that's right in the front, it's like 3 lanes going one way, 3 lanes going the other way. This isn't some country road with 1 lane going in either direction. We got a stoplight. We got a Burger King on the other corner, a Circle K. So like all 4 corners are developed out. This is going to be the center of what's going on in the area, right? So this is a bigger one. This one's going to be kind of messy because it's not just El Pollo Loco. It's got El Pollo Loco and then something else. It's got a couple other shops next to it. I was going to say this 5,000 square foot is going to be really big. But if we look at their offering memorandum, we should see what kind of rent they're paying. And if we get an idea what kind of rents they're paying, we can learn. We can learn to go create our own deal. And so this one, it's not just El Pollo Loco. It's something else in there. They're asking $4 million. So this is going to be inflated because it's rents coming from not just El Pollo Loco, but the other neighbors. So the whole shopping center is $260,000. 3-tenant shopping center. Let's see if they have a rent roll in here. We can just look at El Pollo Loco's rent. And feel free to throw questions, guys. Like if I don't know if you're seeing comments come through.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, it's more statements. Well, one person asked a question. Will, he said, I have more information. I need more information on the commercial loan side of how much capital and how much to put up to be approved.
Yeah. It's a really good question. So it depends on the credit of the tenant. And so like El Pollo Loco, we were just talking about this one and these other 2 that are on here.
I think we need to establish for him one of the things I don't know about your audience, but my audience tends to put, or at least that's the way I interpret it, they tend to put all commercial in one box, and it's not like so when he says I want to get. I need to know. I need more information about on commercial loan side. Now you have to say, well, what type of commercial property are you talking about? Are you talking about single tenant? Are you talking about multifamily, self storage, hotel, motel, warehousing? Several more office. What particular type of commercial are you talking about?
Yeah.
So his question is broad. He needs to be a little bit more. Uh, he needs to identify what is he trying to do. What type of commercial property is he trying to purchase? Because what we're talking about right here is either finding a vacant lot or a former building in a desired area based on X, Y, and Z, and finding a tenant for that building that automatically improves that value of that property, that allows you to go get a loan from a lender to either build or to renovate for that particular tenant, because they're so strong that the lenders will give you the money. So
Yeah.
that's this. So just to follow up with this question, you have to be a little bit more detailed on what you're trying to do. So you want to elaborate on that, Luke?
I think it's a beautiful question. I think it's a beautiful response. I think you hit the nail right on the head. It depends what kind of asset class and tenant you're talking about. And so this example I'm talking about here is single tenant assets, like your McDonald's, Burger King kind of shop down the street. It's one shop. This one that's on the screen is 3 different shops in one building. This isn't the best example. So this particular one, it's El Pollo Loco, Jamba Juice, and Xfinity. El Pollo Loco is paying $114,000 in rent. And if we go get a single tenant building where it's just El Pollo Loco, generally they'll do more business in a single tenant building than one with a couple neighbors, but they'll have to pay more rent because it just costs more to get one of those things put together and make it happen for them. And so if we're targeting a single tenant building, like if we had this whole corner, and this whole corner probably costs too much to just pull it off as a single tenant shop. But if we got the whole corner and we got El Pollo Loco to pay $200,000 rent or something for this whole corner, we could go to the bank, we could go to the finance guys, and we could get 100% finance to buy the land, to do the studies, to do the engineering, to construct the building, to make it their signs, their colors, their all that stuff, give them the keys, and start collecting rent from them. The bankers will give us 100% financing on that because this stuff trades so easily in the marketplace, because the tenant has awesome credit, because they promise to pay a bunch of rent over a long period of time. And so this particular deal, they're offering to pay $114,000 a year in rent, and it goes up 10% every 5 years, I think. Jamba Juice, I didn't see the rent on theirs. Jamba Juice offered to pay something too, and then the other one,
Your camera. I don't know if you intended for it to, but your camera went out.
the camera go out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's see if that's
Seemed like you. I don't know. I'm not sure.
it says browser lost connection to your camera. Make sure. Well, let me just try. I got a couple cameras. Let me try a different camera. Here's we'll try this. Okay. So I think I lost. No, the screen share is still going. Okay. So I'm back to screen share. Maybe camera and screen share is going. So this
someone asked, what site is this? This is Crexi. It's spelled CREXI. CREXI.
CREXI. It's like the Zillow of commercial real estate. There's another one called LoopNet.
It's not as good.
That is a lot like this. I think for these single tenant assets like this, I think a lot more of them show up on Crexi than on LoopNet, but those are the 2 main ones. This is maybe Redfin's a better example for Crexi. They're much more data oriented, and you get more statistics and features, if you will. So this particular building example that we came up with, the Jamba Juice is paying $67,000 a year, and Xfinity is paying $78,000 a year. So we got some neighbors that are $60,000-$70,000 kinds of neighbors, and then the main asset in here is the El Pollo Loco paying $114,000. They're paying more because they got the corner, they got the drive-through, they're probably the brand name that started this. They got El Pollo Loco, and then they said, okay, Jamba and Xfinity or whoever else wants to go here. They got them in on top of it. They put the backing of these three tenants together, and then they probably did the same kind of finance that I'm talking about to knock it out and make it happen. But if we start to understand these kinds of deals, we can take them apart and we can look for opportunities to go create similar deals like this. Lights changed. Okay. So this one is 114. And let's look at some more. So this isn't maybe the best example because it's a 3-unit. So there's Las Vegas, Nevada. Las Vegas, Nevada is got this El Pollo Loco. Here's a standalone El Pollo Loco. Let's take a look at this one. Let's study this one a little bit closer than that other one. They're paying, so it says on the screen here, $132,000. So NOI means net operating income. That's basically how much rent they're paying. But if you're the tenant, you're going to pay more than that. You're going to pay the taxes. You're going to pay the insurance. You're going to pay the maintenance. You're going to pay all that other stuff. But as the landlord, as the person who owns the property, let's say it was you or I that were the landlord, we got into that position someday on this thing, we would be collecting $132,000. And the tenant would be paying the taxes. The tenant would be paying the insurance. The tenant would be taking care of everything. They've got a big name and a brand that says they're credit worthy and they're responsible enough to do that. Now, if we're doing houses,
yeah. Oh, I'm glad you about to go into it. I was about to go ahead.
Yeah, if we're doing houses, the tenants expect us to pay the taxes. If we're the owner of the house, they expect us to pay the insurance. They expect us to do the maintenance. They expect us to do all this stuff. And the toilet's clogged and the sink garbage disposal is jammed up with all their stupid stuff they put down the garbage disposal. We got to go fix it, right, as a landlord. But when you have an awesome tenant that says, I don't want you here, I want to do my business, give me quiet and peace and, leave me alone, I'm going to sign a 15-year lease. How long is this one? Remaining. So this was a 20-year lease. So this started out as a 20-year lease and there's 14 years left on the lease. They signed a 20-year lease. They're going to pay rent. And with that guarantee that they're going to pay rent for a long time and pay all the bills, you've got a credit rating that starts separating your credit and your background and your history and your whatever you've got going on or not. You could be in jail. It doesn't matter. Like these guys have credit and we can use their credit to do the deal. And that's a beautiful thing. That starts separating my finances with their finances. Yeah. And that allows a massive growth. Like if you can put these deals together, you got a long ways to go. Go ahead.
To drive this home for people really understand what you're saying is, people have become very wealthy, through residential rentals, houses, single family houses. You buy a property, they call it the Burr method. You buy a property, rent it, renovate it, rent it, refinance and repeat or whatever. It works beautifully, but what comes with that is that tenant is expecting you to fix everything in the house that breaks. You still have to pay the taxes on the property. You pay the insurance. In this world, how you say the name of this restaurant?
El Pollo Loco.
El Pollo Loco.
Yeah, think of Breaking Bad. What was that one
Yeah,
called?
I got you. Yeah, 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 yeah,
The three chickens or something. I don't know.
Gus, yeah, El Pollo Loco.
Yeah,
They're going to pay you a lease amount. They're going to pay you a rental amount, if you want to call it that. They're going to pay the taxes. They're going to pay the insurance, and they're going to fix everything. They call that a triple net lease. Okay.
yeah,
If you ever see a commercial property, you'll see N. It's referring to the tax, insurance, and maintenance. Now, sometimes you'll see a double N, and they may only just pay the taxes and insurance, and you may be
yeah,
responsible for some maintenance. And then sometimes you'll see a single net, where you may only be responsible for, I don't know, the maintenance, and they pay the I don't know. So, but a lot of times with these, you're going to see the triple net. So
yeah,
even then, they're going to sign a 20-year lease. And the beauty about this, which you don't want it to happen, so they got 14 years left. So just assume this company says, hey, this location is not performing up to our standards. We're going to close it. But guess what? The company didn't go out of business. This location went out of business, right? And so they still are going to pay you those 14 years unless you get another tenant and maybe some verbiage in the contract, in the lease, where if you get a tenant, it'll be offset or whatever. I don't know. It's just going to depend on how that's structured. But they call that going dark, right? But if you see like a vacant McDonald's or a vacant Burger King or something, a lot of times Burger King and McDonald's, if it's the franchisee or the corporate side of it, they're still paying for that building in a lot of cases. And that's why owners don't seem like they're in a rush to fill it, right? Because they're still getting their money, right? So I just wanted to make sure we drive that home on that because that's a significant difference. Because a lot of people, Luke, are as investors, they're in the position to buy one of these, purchase one of these situations or whatever. But people just don't know or whatever. So, but I just wanted to drive that home on what you were saying, the difference between a rental
yeah.
house.
And imagine you get good at collecting rental houses. You get 5 or 10 of them, and the rent's adding up, and it's doing great. And you want to go for the 11th or the 12th or the 20th or whatever number that is. But first, you got to put out the fire on house number 3 or house number 6, or solve the problem over here. Now your tenant moved out, and you got to put in a new tenant. You're spending all your time marketing for a new tenant, fixing the whatever you're fixing, and you're not going on to the next house. But to really have a long runway of scaling and growing your wealth, if you created these kinds of assets, I'm not saying there's never any problems, but there's usually a lot less problems. You're not having to maintain it. You're not having to fix stuff. The tenant sticks around generally a lot longer, and the financing's easier. It's a different tool to the same means that allows you to go a lot further. You could have a portfolio of 100 of these things and go on vacation for a month or two and come back and maybe not really have anything to fix or do. To try to do that with 100 houses. Somebody's going to move out. There's always going to be some problems in there that you're having to deal with all the time, unless you're totally really good at handing it off to a management company and walking away. These things are a lot easier to compound and have lots of. And these are I call them desert squares because I come from vacant land background. These are the desert squares of commercial real estate. These are the little tiny baby things. These are the learning curve assets. This isn't where you stay usually. This is where people learn, and then they say, if I can get 100% finance and make one of these things happen, why don't I do something bigger or something better and do a Target or a Lowe's or a whole shopping center full of those things and change the economics of my family's trajectory for generations off of one deal. Instead of paying the bills for a couple of years off of one of these deals. And so the smarter people in the space scale up and they go up the ladder pretty fast. They that leaves an opening and a door for us. I'm not saying we're not the smarter ones, but it leaves a door for the new people, the learning curve, to come in and get your toes wet and test the waters on these kinds of assets. So these are a good space to start and learn and grow into commercial assets. Okay, so the this particular property, they're saying a 4.5 cap rate, and this 4.5 cap rate is pretty amazing if you can sell something at 4.5. Like if you go to your local bank, maybe not your bank, but your local credit union right now, and you had some money to put in there, they probably sell you a CD at like 3 or something, or maybe 3.25. I don't know, some of those kinds of rates, maybe 3.5, not 4.5. I don't think, but if they're offering you 4.5, might not be the bank you want to give your money to. But this is a little bit more than that, but it's not like the kinds of rates that a credit card is, like if you borrowed on your credit card or something, it's not those kinds of rates. So the people that buy this stuff they're not just there for the return. There's usually something more above it. They're looking for really low risk money that is tax efficient. And so this 4.5, what does 4.5 cap mean? So if I'm the person buying this thing, it is I'm getting $132,000 rent over the price tag, and this one doesn't even show a price tag. Just to no, it does. Okay, so 132,000 over the 2.9 million is 4.5%. That's the cap rate, and this is a way we can measure the risk reward of these different properties. And so if we've got a tenant, let's say it's another El Pollo Loco that's just it's their first one, and somebody got the franchise agreement to start their El Pollo Loco, and they got their first one, and they're the one operating it, and they're not the corporate big backed one in the background, but it's somebody like you and I. Maybe we start a partnership, and the two of us get together and we start an El Pollo Loco somewhere. Our credit rating is not going to trade at 4.5%. It's going to be more like 6 or 7% or something like that. It's a totally different price tag, but it's the same shop doing the same kind of business, paying the same kind of rent. Like, how does that make sense? It's the credit. It's the value of the backing and who's backing it, who's signing on the dotted line, who's guaranteeing to pay the rent is what gets these lower cap rates. A lower cap rate means better credit and a higher price. And a higher cap rate means usually less credit and a lower price. Like we don't get to sell it for as much. So if we're the one creating these assets, we want to understand that dynamic, that the better credit tenant that we can find for a property, not only the more that we can get finance for it, but the more that we can sell it for. And so it makes it really easy to make more money off the deal, the better credit tenant that we get for a property. And so if we're looking at this Las Vegas one, now we got an idea. This one hasn't sold. It's been on the market for 42 days. We could call the broker here and ask questions and get more information and stuff. But basically, they've got the details all spelled out here on the page of how much rent they're doing. Options, they're doing 4 5-year options. So after the 20-year lease, the tenant, the one operating El Pollo Loco, can extend for 5 years, 4 more times. So that's another 20 years on top of this. So they're basically locking up that position for 40 years, and they're locking up how much rent they're paying. And the rent goes up over time. Does it say in here how much it goes up? You probably have to go look at the if we look at the offering memorandum, it would probably say it'll probably be 10% every 5 years or something like that. This is corporate El Pollo Loco on the the NASDAQ LOCO publicly traded company is signing on the dotted line that they're going to operate this thing. So that's why they're asking for such a low cap rate or such a high price for this based on the rent. No landlord responsibility. So this is the kind of deal we want to put together with our tenant when we're negotiating the lease for somebody to move into our land or building. we want to, structure it like this with no landlord responsibilities. This rent started in 2020, expires in 2040. Here we go. Rent increase 10% every 5 years, including option period. So every 5 years, the rent goes up 10% automatically. Like, how cool would that be to just negotiate that in with tenants? You might not want to do it on a house because the markets change, and you could just get different tenant, have them pay higher rents and stuff. But in these kinds of scenarios, you want to lock it up for a long period of time to get the financing to knock it over, make it easy. Okay, so they just did a one pager. This is a sales pitch for this property. Got the guy's phone number, and I'm like itching to call him and ask what he thinks this should really sell for. Because it's probably, if they're asking $450, they probably sell it at like $475 or something. And so the 2.9 million becomes 2.8 or 2.7 by the time it's really done. But the other thing we can learn from is for free on here is just click on Street View and see what it was before. So if we go to Street View before that 2020, it's just probably a piece of land. But let's see if I can get out to this is a grocery store, gas station, Shell. Just looking at neighbors, Denny's. So I think if you look at the neighbors, you can see a lot about what's going on with these things. Here's your classic El Pollo Loco, like, grilled chicken. You usually have like a display when you walk into the shop. You can see everything that's going on in the kitchen. They got the grilled chicken going on right in the front when you walk in. So I wanted to do Street View and I jumped out. So Street View, and then if you go back in time, you can see what it was before. Was it land? Was it a building? Was it something else? That's what I started doing, and then I got sidetracked. Because if we can figure out the ones that are already created and that are out there, that's our inspiration. That's our motivation. That's what we can learn from to go create another one and do it again, right? So we want to get back before 2020. This is just land. So here's 21. They're just opening. Here's 2019. It was land. So this is what it used to look like before this thing was here. This is a busy street corner with a crazy power line going on here. It had the Shell. It didn't have the Arco and the grocery store. But they added the Denny's and the McDonald's and the El Pollo Loco. Somebody got creative. So Denny's, McDonald's, El Pollo Loco. So 3 different brands that don't really compete with each other on the same corner, probably in the same development. And so these guys probably got that one piece of land and did all 3 brands. And so they took the trade of what I'm talking about times 3. But that's the idea. If we went and looked up how much they paid for this property, we could get an idea about what they paid. This wouldn't be a really good example because it's got like the 3 tenants going on it. It's going from vacant land to 3 tenants. And you're just gonna show that they made a whole bunch of money. So where'd the McDonald's go? I thought I saw McDonald's. Did they add the McDonald's later? Denny's. Oh, maybe this stuff got bulldozed and turned into McDonald's. I thought I saw McDonald's next to it. I don't know. I'm getting my orientation messed up. But we got the basic idea of what they did a couple years ago. Let's see if there's another listing, and feel free to ask questions.
Yeah, let me make sure I'm on top of those. Most of them.
Yeah, let me just jump into mine too here. Okay, so I had a couple questions going by on mine.
Someone said, I'm in New Jersey. I know of 2 former Rite Aid standalone buildings that are vacant. What can they do? What can I do?
Yeah, so you said New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
looking for vacant? I think there's going to be numerous
Well,
different vacants.
well, no, they have it's a former Rite Aid. They know where two former
Uh,
Rite Aids are located.
okay, yeah, good deal. So there was, I think one of the most creative that is taking up Rite Aid right now is Foot Locker. I don't know if you saw that Foot Locker got bought out by um, uh, Dick's Sporting Goods. Dick's Sporting Goods bought out Foot Locker, and they started getting them out of the malls, like classic mall location, and putting them
Mm,
on busy street corner location. So taking the Rite Aid or the Walgreens that shut down, those
mm,
guys are paying some rent. I think that would be a really creative one. If you could reach out to Dick's Sporting Goods guys and the Foot Locker guys and say, this is a new location for you. This would be a good one. That could be a fun spot for them. Another one, depending on the income of the area, if the income is lower, I don't know what the incomes are in your particular areas, but if the income is like 40 to 50, like kind of 45,000 median household income, this one that we're looking at right now, you can look them up on Crexy. So if you look up a local shop on Crexy, it'll start getting into some income. Like this Las Vegas property we're looking at, median household income right around at 1 mile is like 90,000. This is too high for what I'm thinking of, but you could do a CSL Plasma. And there's a couple other plasma shops. CSL Plasma will take some of the bigger Rite Aid locations, like the 15,000-ish maybe, but the 12 and the 13,000, they're right online. So CSL Plasma. And if you guys have ever been to one of those things, like their parking lots go off. Some of those guys, they'll pay you like $1,200 a month to go, they call it donate plasma, sell plasma. And they'll sign you up for a couple times a month. You come back a couple times a month and they draw blood, they filter out plasma, they put blood back in and sell it. So that works a lot better in lower income areas, like lower income being in the 40s, not in the 30s and the 20s where the people can't afford a car to get there and back anymore. But in the 40s, people still got a car to like get there and sell plasma and get out of there. But if you
mm.
start getting into the 50s and 60,000 median household incomes, people don't sell plasma as much. So look at the income and see if there's a CSL Plasma or Octapharma Plasma, Fresenius. There's a couple of different ones, but
What type of
CSL is one of
what
the
type
ones
of
that's
population density are they looking for on those?
perfect question. So the CSL Plasma guys usually want 100,000 population density within a 5-mile radius. And
Mm,
so you
that's a
can
lot.
start using AI if you start putting that location of your shop in there. You say, hey, Perplexity, or hey, Gemini, or hey, Claude, or whatever one you like to use. What's the population density? What's the population of 5-mile radius around this location? You don't have to pay for any data sets to do that. You can look it up. And so you could look up those two Rite Aid locations and see if either of them fit. And you're also going to want to see if there's another CSL Plasma before you start pitching CSL Plasma. Go see if there's another one right next to it or across the street, or you're going to want it like 5-10 miles away. So there's like a good void there before you start doing another one. Another Rite Aid deal that I got into was AutoZone. AutoZone likes the Rite Aid building. So sometimes Rite Aids are 15, 18, 20,000 square feet. Those are the really big ones. It might not fit. But if it's closer to the 10,000 square foot kind of Rite Aid, maybe it's the 6 or the 8 or the 10 or the 12,000 square foot model, AutoZone might not be there. AutoZone likes the busy street corner that Rite Aid usually is on, and they like the amount of parking. They usually want like 40 parking spaces or something like that. The Rite Aid usually has the parking already there because it's a Rite Aid. They probably already checked the parking box. And if O'Reilly's is across the street and AutoZone is across the street, or sorry, Advanced Auto Part is across the street and AutoZone isn't there, that would be the perfect call. If AutoZone is across the street and O'Reilly's isn't there, you're going to want to call O'Reilly's, or vice versa. Advanced Auto doesn't usually take on as much space as the Rite Aid, but I saw them take on one in Delaware not too long ago that was a Rite Aid building. I've seen them take on Rite Aid buildings, but it's usually a little bit more stretched for them to take on that much square footage. Who else goes in Rite Aid? So if the Rite Aid is cheap enough, like I don't know what price tags you're talking about on those Rite Aids, but if it's cheap enough, you can start going to the dollar stores and you might get 10 or 12 bucks or something a square foot rent out of those guys, and you might get it to work if you could get the building cheap enough. If it's a higher price one and it's a higher income in New Jersey, it's a higher income area, you might be able to get there's a lot of medical users. Maybe you could get the dentist. It's usually too much square foot for the dentist, like if you start cutting it in half. But if you start getting the urgent cares and the doctor offices and those kinds of shops, you can get more rent out of it. And if you can get one of those, that's going to be some of the best paying ones. They're going to pay more than the CSL. They're going to pay more than the car parts. They're going to pay more than a lot of those other users, right? So those would be some ideas. There's a bunch of technology now today to say who uses one of those buildings with that square footage, with that demographics, with that kind of traffic, with those kinds of neighbors, with those kinds of attributes of the building that's going on in your particular buildings. You can feed a lot of that into AI and ask. And then you can say, who should I be contacting at those brands to make them go there, right? There's today's technology. It's never been as awesome as it is now. Okay, so back to El Pollo Loco.
A question, and
ask away.
I'm looking it up right now since you're talking about the plasma places, and I'm looking at the population density of this particular CVS that's been closed. It's right across the street from a hospital here, but it's in one of those neighborhoods. I'm not sure about the income.
Do you want to share your screen?
I can just give you the address since you got the tools over there.
Okay.
The address of that former CVS is 632 Tuscaloosa Avenue in Birmingham.
You're gonna make me spell Tuscaloosa? Okay, Tuscaloosa Avenue. I think I got it.
Yeah.
Google help me out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There we go. Okay, so CVS Pharmacy. So let's see if we can figure out what this thing is. Oops. Let me just redo that.
So that what year is that from?
I hit the wrong button. I lost the address. So say
it's
say it again.
632 Tuscaloosa Avenue.
Okay. Let me do it this way. Okay, so this is in town. We got Walgreens right up the street here. I'm going to jump into a different set of data. And so this website that I'm using now is Alpha Maps. Alpha Maps was created by technology junkie, awesome, nice guy, if you're listening, that used to work with Sam Altman and OpenAI. He created a business together, sold the business, and next he went and created this business. This business measures cell phone traffic. And so cell phone traffic on the street and the buildings and in a lot of different ways. And so this one,
your audio is breaking up a little bit. You there, Luke? Hey, Luke. He faded out on us. I was just before we get him back, I checked Gemini and I checked Claude to see what the 5 mile radius is on that, and I'm showing 150,000 plus on both of them. Oh, you're back. Okay, all right. Your audio went out.
My audio went out. Okay, I hear you again. I think it was my internet might have blinked.
Yeah, I checked I used Gemini and Claude to check that 5-mile radius. Both of them are saying 150 plus on population.
Heck yeah.
density. So
to this one here.
we'll
Did you
see.
look and see if there's a CSL plasma around?
I've never even heard of that before. So not saying I know everything, but I pay attention. So I would be shocked if there's one in this market. He froze again. CLM Plaza. You froze again. We couldn't hear you. So as I was saying,
I can hear you again. Sorry.
I don't. How do you say CL? What is it called? CLM what?
CSL plasma.
In Birmingham. So there's one.
They're growing like crazy. They're taking up locations all over the place.
There's one on the eastern side of town. It's over on 7509 Crestwood Boulevard. So they're in the market. So what do I know?
There's like 10,000 cars going by out front. It's kind of lower traffic area. I mean, yeah, it's in town and everything, but it's.
Yeah, there's one 18 minutes, 7.7 miles away from that old CVS.
You said it's 18 minutes or 18 miles?
18 minutes.
Missing you.
7.7 miles.
I think my connection's bad. You said 18
minutes,
7 miles?
Yeah, 7.7 miles, 18 minutes.
Okay, it might still work. So what's the income? 47. You're right on, hit the nail right on the head income-wise. So this is income area that's plasma kind of market. So this is the kind of people that can still afford a car to get there and still want the money to take their time. It takes an hour or something.
Yeah, you broke up again. Yeah, you broke up again. I can't hear you.
Breeze.
Yeah, you broke up again. You said it takes an hour, and then we couldn't hear you after that.
Okay, sorry guys. It takes about an hour, and people bring their phones and play music, and it's like a party. It's just these places load up with people. People do it before work, after dinner, late into the night. It's almost like you have a problem of not enough parking.
Ooh.
Well, and I looked into it a couple different times because they're a good tenant to have for these shops, and they like to have like the loading door. This looks like it might be a loading door in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I can pull that up. They like the loading door, and I don't think that's the right one. They I always thought, wouldn't it make more economic sense to do this in India or something, where you could get plasma out of people for a lot less money than doing it in the U.S.?
Yeah.
It's not an okay thing. Europeans are not okay with it. The South Americans a little bit, but America is like 98% of the market for selling plasma in the world. So when people have medical problems that need plasma to solve them, it's almost exclusively coming from America. It's the biggest market anywhere for this stuff, because of laws and regulations. The Americans, sure, freedom. You want to sell your plasma, go sell your plasma. The rest of the world says, you want to sell your plasma? That's not okay. You're taking advantage of our people. We're going to make laws against it.
Yeah, this is what year is this? What year is that from? Yeah, you froze again. Yeah, you froze again when I asked you what year it was.
Sorry, I'm freezing up. My kids did a sleepover party last night, and now they're all playing video games.
Yeah,
It's just not. I should have planned ahead better. So this looks like a loading. Big truck can pull up here, load and unload. So some of these pharmacies have this, and some of them don't. This should be a flat one. This one. Load and unload more without lifting docks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That would probably be the main fix-up that they would ask for. And other than that, they would just, resurface this shop and clean it out and put a bunch of donation material, beds and chairs and, a desk and stuff like that in there. And they break it up into almost cubicles and just let it rip, turn it into a plasma shop. So that could be, is this one for sale? You said this one's vacant. Did I lose you again? Did I lose Ty? Mine's supposed to be fine.
I'm sorry. My heat and air guy is here, so
There you go. Okay, so I was sharing some information about CSL plasma.
Oh yeah, but that location, I don't even know if they have a. You were asking about a for sale sign. I don't even know if they have a for a sale sign. I'll probably drive out there today or tomorrow, just to check it or whatever. But if you think it's something we should take a look at, I'll definitely dive into it.
Okay, so
someone asked, does a CSL have to be in a town of a population of 100,000?
I can't get this to come up.
Yeah, someone asked a question, does a CSL plasma have to be in a town with a population of 100,000? Now, they want a population of 100,000 within a 5-mile radius.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yes. And you'll find some examples where they're, if you go map them all out, some of them will be 70 or 80 or 50,000 or something. But for new locations, what they're trying to target and their off the cuff response is 100,000 and 5 miles. So I pulled up CSL plasma on Crexi, like we started to do with El Pollo Loco. And, here's some examples. So this one is Detroit, or, outskirts of Detroit. CSL plasma and a portfolio of a couple other shops. And let's see if I can find a better example. CSL plasma, Mobile, Alabama. Here's one that might click the box a little bit closer to home. And so if we look at what this building was before, this is probably an old pharmacy, I'm guessing, or maybe a grocery store, a Winn-Dixie or something. Let's jump into Street View and see what it was before. This was a Rite Aid. Okay, so perfect example. So this building used to be a Rite Aid. You can kind of see the sign falling off the front of it. If I go back further in time, you can actually see the sign. So this was a Rite Aid pharmacy in 2016, 2017. They buggered out. They left the building. 2022, they had turned it up to a CSL Plasma. Here's their sign. Earn up to $1,220. This is probably a month. Come inside and learn more. So they're signing people up. Look at the parking lot on this thing. Look at the parking lot when it was a Rite Aid. What, 3 cars in the front? And these are probably all the employees working there. And then turn it into CSL Plasma. Here, donate plasma. This says $8.25. They might give you a bunch of money right out of the gate just to sign up. The police are there. Somebody having too much of a party, or maybe the police need to pay their bills too. Look how many cars are in the parking lot. Like, they don't have enough parking. And they got the bus stop right in the front too. So this is perfect. They got the bus stop in the front. Everybody and their brother in town is stopping in here and they're chiming in. Like, give me the money.
That location in Birmingham is a bus. I would be shocked if there's not a bus stop within a block, if that.
Right? Yeah. So there's your example of who you could put into one of those shops. CSL Plasma.
What street is
now,
that? If that's in Mobile.
This is in Mobile. This is in Government Street.
Okay.
1971 Government Street. And because this one's listed on the market, we can learn. This is the beautiful thing about it. We can learn about how much rent these guys are paying, and we can learn about the terms of their lease by the ones that are being marketed. How beautiful is that? That's data that used to be the good old boys club, locked away, you don't get access to. We got it right here at our fingertips. So this is this CSL Plasma. They put together a flyer because they're trying to sell it. Here's your example, right? Here's somebody in the chair doing their thing. 195,000. So the cap rate that they're doing here, stabilized NOI in place. What is this? Okay, so they're saying out into the future the rent's going to be higher, but what it is right now is 116,000, and they're trying to get 4.95. They're trying to get a 5 cap out of this. So they're trying to get. Go ahead.
That's high in Alabama normally. Go ahead though.
That rent or that cap rate? I think
that
cap rate I think's out to lunch. This 4.95 is they're dreaming, and the 8.3 is what they're trying to guide people into. And I think in reality with a CSL, it's more like somewhere in between, like a 7 or something. But if we looked at more of them, we'd get a better idea.
Yeah.
So this one is 20,000 square feet. This is like your classic pharmacy footprint. Rite Aids might be more like 15,000. It'd be normal. So this was a
you break it up.
CVS or something. This was a CVS, I think. CVS does them a little bit bigger. Rite Aid a little bit smaller. They got 70 parking spaces, and it looked like they're basically using them all up. They fixed this thing up in 2019. And okay, so let's say we got your shop, the one that you pointed out, Ty, and we negotiated with CSL Plasma, $116,000 a year rent for the rest of forever. If we keep looking at this, we'll figure out what kind of timeline they do. I think they like 10 years. We try to get them for 15 or 20, but they'd probably go for 10. It didn't say so obvious how long their rent is. 116,000 a year. 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 116,000 a year there might be more to this building. Part of it might be something else. Like this roundy part, maybe they don't own that part. There might be something else going on there. There's the mobile. So here's some comparables. So they even put some comparables together for us. Some Alabama, Illinois, and California. Like, here we go. Just throw them from all across the country. And so the cap rates they're coming up with are on the other ones in the sevens. So out on this side of the page, it's 7.9, 7.2, 7.5. So the CSL's probably going to sell it in the sevens. And so if they're saying theirs is 8, but it's not really because they're not paying that much rent yet. Remaining term 10 years. So they're saying 10 years left on the lease. And as the next rent bump comes through, it probably starts paying this higher rent. Yeah, so there's another space next door. And so 5,000 square foot next door is currently vacant, I think it is. So it's not a rent bump. They're trying to say if you rented out that space next door, then you would get an 8 cap off of this thing. So they're saying there's some opportunity there to rent this shop next door. So they're trying to paint a picture of value add, but it's not, they don't have the tenant for you. You got to go find the tenant. So I think you should pay for what's in place, and you don't want to pay 5 cap for something that trades in the sevens. So it's overpriced, and that's why it's still on the market. Here's the breakdown of the lease. So they did a 15-year lease, and it's basically $11,300 a month on a 15-year lease. And tenant pays property taxes, tenant pays insurance, the landlord is responsible for common area maintenance, like taking care of the parking lot and that kind of stuff, and then tenant reimburses pro rata, probably per square footage or something. Roof and structure, landlord pays for the roof on this one, and heating and air conditioning, tenant is responsible. Right of first refusal, none. And so we could go copy this kind of deal and negotiate this kind of deal with CSL Plasma. Here's another location for you. The income is right what you want. The size is right there. The people are there. The parking's there. The building's there. We could go turn this into a CSL Plasma for you and negotiate out, just copy the same deal and make it worth a couple $1 million.
So break down this is what people like to hear. Break down those numbers. Let's just assume we can get that building for $500,000. The CVS in Birmingham. So break down the numbers and what the payday would look like for us.
So they were talking about 116, right? So let's do. They got it monthly. I like to look at it annual. So 116. I'm just going to round off. So 116. 116. Let me start over. 116. So $116,000 is the rent. Now, if we divide that by the cap rate, we get a valuation on the thing. And so I'm going to divide that by, and the examples that they had in here were in the sevens. So I'm going to say divide it by 0.075. I'm just going to go in the middle of the sevens. They had some lower sevens and some upper sevens. And this is going to give us an estimation of what we should be able to sell this property for. The one that we want to create, the idea of what we're trying to make. And so we're talking about $1.5 million. They're talking about $2 million on this one because they're trying to blend in the vacant building next door, like you might be able to rent it, and they're dreaming. So in reality, it's like $1.5 million, you could go sell one of these CSL plasmas for with that rent that this one in Mobile, Alabama is paying. So if we got the one in Tuscaloosa for $500,000 and we did the exact same lease, we copied it and we did the same lease with CSL Plasma, we moved them in here, there's $1 million spread. Now, we could finance that with other people's money 100%, and we could keep that $1 million spread. But in reality, there's going to be some costs involved. There's going to be a broker that goes and sells this thing for us on the other side. They're probably going to charge something, might be 60, 70, 80. At this price, it might be $100,000. Let's call it $100,000. Let's round up to $100,000 in commissions that they might charge us to go sell this thing as a triple net asset and get us out of it. So the $1 million goes to $900,000. We looked at the loading dock in the back of the building. The loading dock was like knee high. It wasn't like waist high where the truck can back up to it and you just roll the stuff in and out. I bet you're going to have to lower the ground and figure out how to get the water to not sit in there. And it's probably going to cost you probably less than $50,000, but let's call it another $100,000 because I don't know the number. So $900,000 goes to $800,000. And then they're probably going to ask for some TI, tenant improvements, to change the colors, change the signs, make it much more of their look and building. If we just came out of the gate and offered them $100,000, they might take it. If we let them come up with the numbers, they might ask for $200,000 or $300,000. Let's say it was $200,000 that we gave them in credits to fix up the building, take all the old junk out of there, make sure the electricity is up to code and the plumbing is just right and the lighting is cool and everything's good for them, how they want it. It just makes them a lot easier to resurface the shop and move in. Our $800,000 knocked $200,000 off of there. We're down to $600,000. It's still beautiful, like $600,000 spread using everybody else's money to put the deal together. And your acumen of bringing that deal together is your equity in the deal. Like, you're creating equity in this deal by adding the brand. If you can negotiate that pharmacy shop for $500,000, like, heck yeah, there's your value add. And give us the time to go put it together, to go land the plane. That's what it's all about. You get some of the highest paid jobs in the world are negotiating, per hour, per deal, per whatever. That negotiation of you talking to them and negotiating that deal is it. You're going to go negotiate on the other side with CSL Plasma, 2 different negotiations, putting them together, and then third negotiation of finance, I guess. But when you have that kind of spread, everybody wants to finance that deal, and that's the value add. That's how you take advantage of a property like that. So next up would be how to contact the people. How do we contact this CVS? It was CVS, right, Ty? Yours was CVS, or was it Rite Aid?
I think CVS corporate still owns it. Let me check. When I looked it up maybe a year or so ago, because I'm always just looking up stuff. When I'm out, I like to, I'm here. So even though I look at stuff nationwide, but I'm here. So, the city's big enough for opportunities, of course, but I'm just nosy like that too. Big B Incorporated, because remember they used to be called Big B, didn't they? Years ago. Big B Drugs, I think, in there, and I rolled out.
Maybe so this was one of those old locations before it turned
it's
into...
one CVS Drive. In one how do you say this? Woonsock, Rhode Island. But anyway, so but yeah, that's the headquarters of CVS. But it's been vacant a minute, like, oh my, at least 2 years. You still there? He's froze again. Let's see, because I don't see that it's for sale. But yeah, he froze again. But anyway, so yeah, I passed this building all the time, and I've never noticed those plasma plate places or whatever. But obviously, that's a very lucrative business, just because it's ever going. And if you're gonna pay people that much money, I can only imagine what they're making off of them, right? I don't think that's the. I wonder what the address. Let me see. The address. I'm just looking through my. I guess I could share my screen, guys. But the address. I'm trying to see if it's on the market. I don't show anything that it's on the market. And I'm on CVS's main website here. I don't show that it's for sale or anything. Let me add Luke back. Okay, you back?
Yeah, I found it on LoopNet. It's for sale.
It is for sale? How much?
Yeah. Rental rate upon request, term negotiable, 10,000 square foot, rent to be determined.
What address are you showing? Are you showing the 632 Tuscaloosa Avenue or 617 Princeton?
632 Tuscaloosa.
Okay.
I'd like to just call these guys and start asking questions.
Yeah. Let it rip.
You up for that? Okay, so we got,
let's get it.
I don't need to share a screen for this. So I'm going to be very careful. I might hang up on these guys, depending on, I want to make sure they're okay with recording and publishing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So let me.
Yep, that information is accurate on the, according to their fly. I'm looking at their OM. It's short. It just says sublease. So under that situation, under a sublease, that's not a deal killer, is it? It still can be put together.
Yeah, I'd like to get the story.
Okay.
Let me see if I can get this to come through here.
Or just hang up to cancel.
I might hang right up. I got to make sure that we can have this live.
Walker Rich is not available to take your call. Please leave a message after the tone. Press the pound key to end recording.
Hello, Walker Rich. My name is Luke Smith. I'm looking at your CVS pharmacy in Tuscaloosa Avenue, 632 Tuscaloosa Avenue. I'm here with some friends, and we got a potential tenant that would be interested in this building, and I wanted to ask you some questions about it, see what the status is, and learn more about it, and take it from there. Hope to talk to you again soon. My name is Luke Smith. My phone number is 760-274-7711. My email is luke@ruralvacantland.com. I also see Joe Strauss on here. I'll try him next. Thank you. Bye. Let's see if this guy is local. See if he answers a phone.
I guess anyone that's watching here, as we were doing with Bo Jenkins on the recorded version that we did of it last week, obviously we're live right now. So, the population density is key on a new location. So the simple thing you can do is take an address, go to Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude, and just do a search. What's the 5 what's the population within in a 5-mile radius of this address. You include the address and do your search. Normally it can pull it. And then ideally you want to see if there's any other CSL plasmas in, nearby or whatever. I think Luke may have froze again. Let's see here. Man, wow. I'm reading you all the messages. I know we hadn't been going through them here, so let me try to go up and get some of them in here. He's trying to come back in. Somebody said, "What's my end goal?" So I don't know. There are multiple acquisitions, buy land. This was the sales strategies. I guess they're talking to each other. Somebody asked, "Do you have a list of questions to ask sellers?" What type of property are you talking about? What type of commercial are you talking about in particular, just to make sure we're on track there? That was Guy Manaway Prince. More says great, they have available more than 9 months. Trying to see here. This is a big house probably across the street. I guess again they talking to each other. Yeah, somebody say, yeah, he has a free community. Correct. Well, I guess we're going through that right. That CSL Plasma says Jacksonville has 11 of them. Right. Wow. Closest to the Rite Aid location is 25 to 30 minutes away. Okay, now it's going to be the population density.
Sorry about that. I don't know. My connection's dropping out. I got voicemail on both sides. The two different guys that were on there.
Okay.
I just left a message, but I think it'd be fun if we could start getting some of these people on the phone and negotiating some of these deals. So just negotiate a deal to buy the property and get a price and terms, a timeline under contract. Basically, if we get like at least verbal over the phone, would be nice. And then we go draw it up and get it back to him to sign. And then from there, we go talk to CSL Plasma. CSL Plasma, I've had numerous different conversations with CSL Plasma guys in the past. I've got contact information for different CSL Plasma people, which you can probably pull up in AI, knowing the technology of today. You probably don't need me for that contact information. Like any one of these brands, you could probably start pulling them up. You could probably find them on LinkedIn. You could probably find them in all kinds of news articles. You could probably find them in lots of different ways. Just a beautiful thing about today's technology, right? It's making those contacts. I had some questions go by that I didn't get back to.
Yeah, I was just going through here some conversations. They said it's the nearest sea. I guess that was the one in New Jersey. So now it's all about the population density within that 5-mile radius on their minimum criteria. Says CLM Plaza in a town with 100,000. Okay, we answered that. Someone said the multifamily. That was the guy talking about the loans, I guess, and
Yeah.
Plaza, as far as what you would need for a commercial loan or whatever.
What do you need for a commercial loan?
Yeah.
And so in this instance, you need an awesome tenant, right? So if you get the property.
Well, he's he said particularly about multifamily and I guess strip plazas.
Yeah. So multifamily is going to be different because you don't have that tenant credit. They're going to want your credit. They're going to want your capital stack. They're going to want you to put up, 20, 30, 40, 50% of the money or something to go build it or to go buy it and rehab it. It's a different dance. Okay. The capital is harder to get your hands on than it is pulling it off of a retail tenant. And that's a beautiful thing about the retail market. I don't think very many people talk about that. They don't need to go dance for capital like the guys in apartment complexes do. And so, Grant Cardone or somebody, they're out there telling the stories about apartment complexes to raise capital to and the retail.
All right, while he's coming back on, someone says, sorry, they're new to the channel. Question, are you saying that we would go buy CSL Plasma franchise or buy the real estate and solicit to them their business in our building? Well, yeah, you could do it that way, but yeah, you're not buying the CSL Plasma franchise. No, you're finding locations. Yeah, you froze out. I was just answering this question.
I froze out. I thought you froze out. Okay, so
I was answering this question right here. Can you see it on screen? They were asking, were they going to buy the franchise? No, you're not buying the franchise. They're asking, are they buying the real estate? I guess you could, but ideally, what we're talking about is wholesaling the deal, basically.
I think you can wholesale it.
Yeah.
Whether it's an assignment or these are usually bigger dollars to go do an assignment on. People are going to steal your money if you try to do an assignment. But if you do a double close, you get to keep the money. And so most of these title companies that you work with, or a lot of them, not most of them, some of them they'll put up the money for you. Like they'll move the money from transaction A to transaction B being you, transaction C being whoever you sell it to. Like you can stack them and they will do the transactional funding for you. Some of these shops don't charge you for it. Some of them charge you for it. If they don't offer it all together, you could bring in somebody else that does transactional funding that might charge you a little bit for it. Might be 1% or something. It's a small amount of money compared to the deal if you're trying to stack them up and sell them that way. If you're using the kind of financing I'm talking about to buy it, fix it, either fix a vacant building or fix the land into building and then sell it, you're paying interest and you're paying fees on the money in between. But taking advantage of that spread is a beautiful thing, and you can still make money off of it. So I guess it depends how you're tackling it.
The young lady here said that Las Vegas had 5. And said, do you need Will said you need to be on the contract before you negotiate with a new buyer. Yeah, you have no value.
Good idea. You're going to get run over.
Yeah, you don't have any value if you don't have it locked up. Why would they need you? They're not just going to pay you out of goodness or their heart. You have to force them to pay you, or they got to come through you because you have it tied up. To say maybe someone has what the square footage should be for the building. Would you say a minimum of 15?
Minimum square footage for what kind of building? For the CSL Plasma?
Yeah, they're stuck on that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So CSL Plasma is a good tenant to go hunt for. But some of these plasma shops, I mean, they're doing like 4,000 or 5,000 square foot kind of plasma shops.
Let me ask you. So like there are a lot of but the parking is the issue, wouldn't it be? There are a lot of vacant Family Dollars. You remember when they had that big close?
Yeah.
A lot of stores, especially in rural areas. They had a huge closing of a lot of stores. So most of those are 10,000 square feet. So what are your thoughts? Would the parking be sufficient enough for that?
I mean, some of them are in like strip malls where you have.
I'm talking about the ones that are single tenant.
The singles.
Yeah.
Like the metal building ones. Or metal building with something hanging on the outside so it doesn't look like metal building. Yeah. I don't think they usually have enough parking. I haven't seen those conversions. Those are hard because, just like you said, a lot of them are in smaller towns, so you don't have the
density.
Yeah, the population density. Mm-hmm. So one of the other tenants that could work more for that shop and the Rite Aid shops and the one we were just looking at. I can't think of the name of the other pharmacy.
CVS, Rite Aid.
CVS, yeah. CVS, Rite Aid, Walgreens, Family Dollar. So the other one that's really cool to put in there is I'm missing names. I always think the blue company. Goodwill. Goodwill pays really good rent. And so you can get a Goodwill to go use one of those shops. And you don't have to have population density for Goodwill. Some of those Goodwills are kind of like, what are they doing here? And sometimes they make more by selling stuff. Sometimes they make more by bringing stuff in. So some of these Goodwills that are in really awesome income areas, awesome being high income areas, they're not selling stuff. They're just taking it in and they're trucking it to these other ones that are like low income areas that people are buying all the stuff on the shelf, and they work together, and that works pretty well too. And so some of those are somewhere in between. They bring stuff in and ship stuff out, or they sell stuff, but they pay good rent. And if you look up Goodwill and you look those up on the market, doing the same kind of thing that we just did with these other brands, go look them up on Crexy, see what Goodwill is doing. I don't know if you want me to do that or not. I'm more than happy to go jump into some Goodwills, but they pay some awesome rent and they take up those size shops. And so you could, if you had one of those shops under contract and you went and negotiated with Goodwill, that could be a good way to do it. Goodwill has the same name and logo all across the country, but they've got like regional operations. And so if you're working with Goodwill in one town or one region, and then you go to the next one, you're going to be talking to somebody else at Goodwill. And you're going to negotiate a different lease and a different contract, and they're going to want different kind of building and different demands. So it's a little different dance every time you talk to Goodwill, unless you're working in the same area. But that's opportunity too. It doesn't make it as scalable, but it works really well to go work with Goodwill and go make Goodwills happen. So you could take a Family Dollar and go convert it into Goodwill. There's a lot of other things you could put in there too, but it's hard to find really good brand stuff to take up a lot of the Family Dollars in small town.
I was just thinking though about the plasma thing. It's just so many ways. I tell people, say, as many ways it is to spend money, it's just as many ways to make it, right?
Yeah, I like that saying.
And so I'm just thinking about that plasma business. How profitable is that for them to be able to pay people $1,200 $800 to $1,200 a month for what, 3 or 4 visits? It's got to be very, very profitable. So even if the population density is not there, I ain't trying to open one, but I'm just saying, like a ton of vacant what do you call them?
Family Dollars.
Family Dollars right now. I can think of 2 right now that are vacant that are very close to the one that's open here, the CSL plasma.
Yeah.
So who are their competitors? Like, do they have a competitor?
Yeah, they got a bunch of competitors.
Okay.
Octa Pharma is one of the big ones. So
okay.
You can get credit rating out of Octa Pharma. There's some of them are based out of Germany, some of the big ones. They go by different brands, but if you dig into it, you start going back to these different pharma companies out of Europe that are paying the bills. And some of them have some credit ratings. I can't think of the names off the top of my head. Fresenius comes to mind, but
yeah, it's just a Gemini search away to answer my question.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's regionals too. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about, the regional side of it. Maybe even a mom and pop version of it, if that exists.
Yeah, exactly. Get the quality control and sell the plasma.
Exactly.
It's not a new business. The business has been around for a while.
Yeah, I remember when I was in high school, the plasma bus used to come around.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, they try to get it for free from you.
I guess
a sob story.
I guess as long as humans here, we're gonna have it and we're gonna need it. So it's one of those business.
A lot of people need it. I mean, it's just there's people that are living in plastic bubble. They can't go outside or talk to anybody.
Yeah.
They have no immune system, right? And they live off of that stuff. They need that stuff. There's a lot of different versions. I'm not the medical expert to tell you what it's for, but it's I know they pay rent.
Yeah, someone has a question here. It says, for instance, what would be my, now we're going to get all kind of questions beyond what we're talking about, so we're going to try to answer them. So, for instance, what would be my play moving forward on an occupied strip mall? Well, if it's occupied, doesn't mean it's not for, it wouldn't be for sale. But if someone's collecting rent from, I don't know, 30 tenants, you know, that property is going to probably sell at a premium, right? So it's just going to depend. You're going to have the resources to buy it. Not saying you don't or whatever. You know, if they asking $5 million for it, 30% on $5 million, they're going to want you to come up with $1.5 million to buy it.
Yeah,
you know,
it's a different finance
ball game. Yeah. See, we're really, y'all. Well, you all know how I get down. I'm in the real estate to show you how to make money with no money. So being able to identify a great real estate deal, and there's a lot of ways to do it. We are actually talking about identifying a commercial property, right? Finding a tenant for it to increase the value of that property, and then capturing some of the difference of what you can lock the property up for and what it can be sold for. That's what we're really talking about here. If we're not being clear, well, you know, he's more versed than I am on commercial. I know enough to be dangerous. Done some deals or whatever.
Okay,
and we can probably answer any question, but I just want to make sure you understand what we're actually talking about here. So,
can I try to hit this one, the strip mall?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm always looking at it like Ty, trying to figure out how to do it without putting any money up. Because if we can figure out how to do it without putting money up, it's scalable. We can do it over and over and over again, and we can do it at ever increasing sizes. We don't have to be in the cheapest, dumpiest little stupid property in the middle of the desert, or the dumpiest house in the worst side of town, or whatever. If we can figure out how to do it with no money up, we can go shoot for the moon. We can take on the best stuff and the biggest spreads, right? So if we can learn that, that's awesome. So if we find a strip mall that has a busy street corner out in front of it, because it's probably built by traffic, that's where the business happens, that's probably what they built it for back in the day when they built the thing. There might be a bunch of parking there that's not being used. We might be able to put a coffee shop up in the front corner, or maybe there's some more room. Maybe we could put a McDonald's, or we could put a, you know, somebody that looks like a McDonald's in 100 other different names. An out parcel, we could carve one off and we could do it that way. Maybe we get the whole thing under contract. We get the whole thing under contract, and at some price that they're happy to sell it to us for, but they didn't count how much rent comes off the thing in the front that they never counted because it's not happening right now. Whether it's a coffee shop or a Starbucks or a Seven Brew or a Dutch Brothers or somebody out front, or it's a drive-through shop. We could add on more rent that wasn't there before by figuring that out. And we could ask them for time. They don't have to sell it to us today. Like, give us 6 months. You guys are collecting the rent. Give us 9 months. Give us 12 months to go work on it. We could tell them what we're trying to do. And if we figure this out, if we pull it off, then I want to be able to buy it from you at XYZ, and I'll go sell it for something more. And they understand what you're trying to do, and they're open for it, and they'll help you. There's a lot of people like that in the marketplace that have those kinds of assets that are sitting there that could have a lot more love. Another way other people might tackle it is they'll do a master lease. And so you could be the property manager if you're the local guy or the local gal working on that property, and you're like, man, the front of this building is ugly, the landscaping is awful, the signage is stupid, a whole lot of this stuff could be fixed. You could go to the landlord without any money, and you could pitch them your ideas. I wish I could fix up the sign. I wish I could fix up the front. I wish I could fix up this and that. And when we do that, the next time the tenant turns over, I think we're going to get more rent out of the next tenant because of that. And you could master lease a thing, offer to take care of it, and basically be the property manager of the property and collect a spread. It might be 5, 10%, 20%. You don't have to do it as a percent. You could lock in the rents, and as you make it better and you improve it and you charge even more rents to these people, you get to keep the difference. There's those kinds of plays that people do on these properties too. You might have to be licensed to do that, in some areas, but if it's a master lease set up the right way, you might not as well.
Yeah.
Instead of a
Will,
management agreement.
we got
Go
a
ahead.
double question here from Will.
Do it.
Is the way he is talking, I guess meaning you. It seems like you do not need to lock up the property, just bring forward the deal. No, and then he has
You want to lock it up.
he has a follow up. Or are you wholesaling the commercial contract, or you just structure the deal to rent it out to the new buyer? No, you got to lock it up. So you have no power if you don't paper it up. You have no power. You know, somebody. I have been paid off deals, but I know the person and have it. You know, it hadn't happened often, but I have been paid off deals that I didn't have contracted first. But that you don't want to operate like that, especially when you start talking about these numbers. You don't want to.
The numbers.
Like that.
Yeah, you buy a new house and stuff with the spreads off of the numbers. So like, get it on paper and write it up, contract it. You can ask for a bunch of time in these kinds of deals, way more time than you usually get out of land deals, residential kind of land deals or house deals, because there's a bigger unknown. That bigger unknown is what is the highest and best use of that property? Who's the tenant? Who's going to pay rent? Who's going to use it? And if you can bring that person to the table, you're adding value, which is a huge thing that the sellers want, the owners of the properties want. You might not even know they want it, but they do. And you can bring that to the table. And there's a lot of technology you can use in today's markets to help do that a lot of people are not using at all.
He froze, but someone said Goodwill. You froze, but someone
Goodwill's
said
amazing tenant.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, what other business has zero cost of goods sold? The cost of goods sold, zero. Like, people bring it in. Like, okay, great. They got a bunch of product to sell, and they throw half of it away because it's not set for the shelf.
And I've sort of seen this before, and I don't know how much you followed this. You know what Goodwill, and I don't know what the mission is like. Is it someone nonprofit, but someone has gotten very wealthy? I have no idea what how it's done. Like where does the money go? Like whatever. So obviously they have employees, they have cost of the building and all that stuff. But what happens to them? I'm not really caring about that. But you know what? With live shopping now, on TikTok and whatnot or whatever, and I seen a guy doing something like that. I don't know if he got their permission, but it seemed like they should just have constant live shopping going on in there to move products or whatever. I saw a guy, now, again, I don't know if he had an agreement with them or not, but he was literally inside a thrift store, had a table out and just pulling stuff off the racks and just put it on there, and people were bidding on it. I was like, this is brilliant or whatever, because it just has an endless supply of inventory or whatever. But I don't want to digress or whatever. That's just me.
Where's the money go? I mean, I like that question too. Your question of where's the money go? I mean, we can go track it. Like, go back on the Crexy website and you see where the rent's getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's their biggest expense, and that goes to the landlord. And if we're the landlord, we get the money. If we find the location for them to go, we charge them the rent, we get the money. I'm sure there's other employees and stuff getting paid along the way, but we get a lot of money if we're the one putting the landlord deal together, create the new space for Goodwill. That's where the money goes to you. Okay, next question. Trying to get an understanding. I find the building and then contact CSL Plasma or like building and say I have the location for you. That's it in short of course. Basically, yeah. But like that flyer we were looking at earlier for one of the properties that was for sale, it would be easier to contact them if you had a little flyer put together, because the first thing they say is, okay, that's great. If they answer the phone, that's great. Why don't you send me what you have on the property? Like, oh, geez, now what do I send them? So if you start looking at a lot of these other flyers that people put together on these kinds of properties, you can see what kind of data and information and sales pitch and stuff that they do. And Ty is a better salesman than the rest of these guys. He put together a flyer that's going to say a lot more. It says more of what they want to hear, right? And so if you know what they want to hear, you know that they want the the 100,000 population in 5 miles. You put that right in the front of the freaking sales pitch. You know that they want the loading door in the back, that the truck, it's not knee high, but we can make it waist high. We can make an AI drawing. This is what it will be. You know, we're offering it to you this way. We're going to fix it up and make it just what you want it. You know, you could put some signage together. It looks like CSL goes here. You could tell them the next CSL is 7 miles away because you already looked it up. The Octa Pharma, that's 22 miles away. They're way over on the other side of town. That bus stop. Do you see that bus stop when we were looking at the shop? It's right in front. You see how many parking spots there are here? You could put that on the sales pitch. Why don't the other people put that on the sales pitch? Because they don't know what CSL is looking for. And by studying this thing and reverse engineering those shops, if you go look at the other CSL plasma shops that are for sale on the market, that are out there in the marketplace, you can go AI it up. What are the other CSL plasmas? How many parking spots do they have? What size square footage do they have? What's the income of the people around there? What's the traffic like? Who are the neighbors? All these kinds of questions. You can start to look at these kinds of questions, and you can use AI to look at it in even a faster and more egregious way. And AI can say, they generally like this kind of parking. They generally like this kind of traffic. They generally like this kind of, and you can make presumptions of what these shops want, and you can put that in your sales pitch to make it custom to what they want to hear. And you present to them what they want to hear, and it's going to be a lot easier to get that deal to go through. We haven't had that technology in the past. We have it now. We should be using it.
Yeah, there's two octoformers here. Out of curiosity, since I've never heard of these places, and I guess I'm passing them all the time or whatever. But that's fine though. It's far enough away. I don't think they really care anyway.
Connection.
Yeah. There's two octoformers here. I just looked it up, and I looked up who's their competition. You have, I think it's called Graphols. It's spelled GRIF. How you pronounce?
Yeah, that's a German one.
Okay, and then BioLife.
Okay,
BioLife is another. Let's see if that's.
I think they do smaller square footage. I think they're the 5, 7, 8,000 square footage one.
The
if I remember right.
Yeah. It's on Lakeshore, so okay. Then we have two of those here. We have one out here in my area, and that's not
CSL plasma market or plasma market.
Yeah.
People sell it. That's how they're paying rent, right?
Hey,
why not?
That's what's up.
Two people in the house, you got rent and the groceries covered right there. Full-time job. We're good.
He said it's our third grade, like over here.
Yeah.
Agronomy you can use for this is
there we go.
Information.
So Agronomy, you're going to get contact information for a lot of these commercial owners. So if you start shopping if you go on Agronomy and you start saying, I want 15,000 square foot, kinds of buildings, commercial, retail oriented buildings, you're going to start finding stuff that should fit the bill for CSL plasma. You can start slicing and dicing population. Give me the ones with 100,000 population in 5 miles or more. I think that's going to dial you in even more. Agronomy, you start pulling up a list of, okay, here's my properties that fit the bill. Let's start calling them. You start calling them up, start working them over. Agronomy is a good tool for that. I think you got to know what you're looking for before you make that list.
Yeah. Similar to this question here, you get a lot of this. There are tons of just vacant commercial property. But you to know if you have a great real estate game, you got to know the end game. So what's your end game? Yeah, it's a vacant building,
exactly.
But what's your end game? And so a lot of people send me stuff, and I think they think I'm blowing them off, but I'm really not. But I don't have a buying pool for it, right? I can find it's easy for me to put my hands on a buying pool for multifamily, self-storage, hotel, motels, warehouses, single tenant, in a sense. But you know, with those other four, the demographics, well, I guess they matter. I'm not even gonna say that. But with the single tenant stuff, when you start talking about bringing in a tenant, a retail tenant or whatever, you know, all that stuff matters to them. You know, it's hard enough to pull that deal off, but so it's just different. So you see an old gas station and every other building is vacant. It's hard to. It's like, you know, you have to be very creative to find a tenant that'll go there. But it's going to be very difficult to find a national tenant, maybe even not a regional tenant, to go in a situation like that, right?
Yeah.
They want to be around where other retail things are, especially if they're national brands. They want to be around other national brands, you know, not a mile down the road, right there, across the street or next door.
Yeah. With the access that allows you to turn left, not just right in, right out.
Yeah.
And with, you know, like this sweet visibility and place for the stormwater to go, and a lot of different attributes. Was that the answer to the previous question?
Yeah, it was this one up here. He was,
yeah.
He said, "What should I offer them?" I don't have enough information. Like, you know, the vacant building, what, you know, not enough information. You know, what's around it, you know. Maybe a great location, but it's still what's around it. You know, you have to give more information, more context. Question there say, Will is trying to figure this thing out, isn't he?
Yeah. So it was the upfront cost to escrow. What is the upfront cost to escrow? So, Will, if you've thanks for the questions, Will. Keep them coming. So if you put a commercial property under contract, lots of the times they'll want you, not all the time, if you're calling the owners of the property, they probably don't ask for a down payment or deposit. If you're talking to a broker, like you're calling the sign on the side of the street or in the door or in the window or
he broke up. So Ty, so on that, while he's coming back on, so on that commercial property, you have to give more context on what's around it. Like when I say that, like what other businesses are around it, not a mile down the road, like what's on the left, what's on the right, what's directly across the street. You broke up again, Luke.
Sorry.
I'm just following, no problem. So I'm just following up on him. Like you have to give more context what's around that commercial building that you were referring to.
Yeah. So back to escrow question guy. Will was asking about escrow. You probably want a deposit. A lot of the brokers out there will ask you for a deposit, you know, 5, 10, 20, 50, 100 grand, some crazy number. I think as they get into the crazy numbers, it's like those aren't the people you want to deal with. Those are the hardest ones to ever get a deposit back when things don't work out. The smaller numbers are usually a lot easier people to work with. And there's a lot of people that loan deposits on these kinds of deals. There's lots of people. There's a whole school community. It's not my community. There's other people on the school community. Ty's on school, I'm on school, but there's someone else on school that just specializes in doing transactional funding. And there's a bunch of people in that community that loan deposits because they want your business to do transactional funding later on someday. If you ever close that deal, they want to charge you for transactional funding. So they'll give you deposits on these things up the wazoo. Like whatever deposit you want, those guys will go loan it up. They might charge a little bit for the money up front. Some of them charge in the back end, depending on the deal. You just go ask them how much for the deposit. And then if the deal goes, a lot of them will do, if the deal goes, they'll charge you for the deposit. And others don't charge you, you know, if the deal doesn't go. And some of them charge you if the deal doesn't go. So you got to talk to them about terms of borrowing the deposit. But this channel, we're always talking about doing it with no money. So that's a way you can do it. If you go talk to those guys, they'll give you deposits to put up on these deals without charging you until your deal goes. I think that's a pretty cool thing to have available. and there's hundreds of people in that community trying to offer you the money. So you could sign in there, and it's a free community, and start finding different people that offer deposits for these kinds of deals. And not just these kinds of deals, but your other deals, your house deals, your land deals, whatever kinds of wholesale deals you're trying to do. Ty, you're looking at me funny.
Oh no, I'm looking at on my screen how
Looking
many.
up the school community.
No, how many tabs I got open.
Okay. Yeah, but some of these people loan you money for deposits. No, so that's, you can do that. But then you go to the title company, and I mean, some of them try to charge you right out of the gate. Some of them try to charge you along the way. Some of them charge you everything you do. But you can ask them. You can ask them, when do you charge and how much do you charge, and say, I'm gonna put this thing under contract. I'm gonna put a deposit in there, and I'm gonna go find a tenant for it. And if and when I find a tenant for this deposit or for this property, then I want to go to closing, and then I'll pay fees. But until I find a tenant, I call it a hold off, or a lot of them call it a hold off. I want to order a hold off on the fees. And then, if I cancel somewhere along the way and I didn't find a tenant, I want my deposit back, or I want it to go back to whoever loaned me the money, and I don't get any fees.
So I wasn't. I guess that would be a natural service that title, especially with a lot of the residential laws that have come down on wholesaling or whatever, that it would be a natural thing for them to start, or even if they didn't fund it themselves, but offer a service where they offer transactional funding to still, double close deals and stay within the law, of course.
Yeah.
So that's what you're saying. That just is some title companies have been smart enough to just start offering that as a service instead of letting someone else make that money.
Yeah, why not? If you're a title company, you should be doing that. That's a perfect way to make more money. You can make more money off of the transactional funding part than you can make off of the title part. And then some of the transactional funders have gotten smart enough to go get in bed with the title companies and offer their service, just offer it across the board to everybody who's wholesaling through your shop. And some of these title companies do a lot more wholesaling business than others. They get it a lot more, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some of them just throw the paperwork at you and they don't want your business. But the ones that are more open for your business, they ought to have that transactional funder. And they might not market it to you, but they know them. And you say, who you got, who you like to work with, that does this style deal. And
wow. Yeah, I when people, I'll get messages, I can't wholesale in my state. No, man, when so-called roadblocks come up, that means opportunity, because now it's a way to figure out to still do it, obviously legally, while other people are thinking like you and running away from it. You should be running to it, because that means more opportunity for you, because the average person is just going to say, oh, well, they said we can't do it anymore. No, nah, it's just like saying, like, you got to have money to buy in real estate and do, well, you got to have money and credit to do deals with real estate. If that was the case, which I thought that prior to 2003, then we wouldn't be talking right now. I was fortunate enough to run into the process of wholesaling, that if you've mastered or just somewhat good at locating great real estate deals, the money won't ever matter. It can be $1 billion piece of real estate. If I can get it for $500 million, I can probably make $100 million by next week or whatever, because you got that type of people with those type of resources that they're going to get 40% off on $1 billion property. They'll happily pay you 100 M's, right? Just because you located that deal or whatever. Obviously tied up or whatever, but point being. So, but will you actually the name of the companies? Well, he's just saying there's some school communities. If you just go to school, SKOOL, look up transactional funding, there are going to be some communities where you're going to have tons of people in there that are offering those services or whatever is what he's saying, or even on Facebook or whatever. So, 8-time Bastard, Texas. What's happening? Let me see. Yeah. Okay. I hope I answer your questions, Will. I think we got Luke back.
Sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on in my
Oh,
connection.
no problem. No, if you got video games pulling,
I
yeah,
think
the internet can only handle so much.
it's summertime.
Yeah.
I got
Well, we were
usually
rolling.
really good internet connection. So we're talking about title companies, and I've talked to hundreds of title companies, different deals over time. Like you name it, small town ones, local ones, national ones, regional ones. I've hired lots of title people, and I start getting into my questions that I ask them, and I started learning somewhere along the way that some of them offer transactional funding in house, and so I start saying,
Wow.
how do you do that? How do the fees happen? Do you compete? You compete with my other transactional funders. You beat their fees. Do you match their fees? They'll usually match their fees. So for them, it's just like moving some paperwork around. I don't know if they actually have the money that they're moving around or not. I don't really want to ask. They do it, and
Well,
they make the laws happen, that they cover the laws, and that the transaction's there. Some of them tell you who the transactional funder is. Sometimes they want you to do some extra paperwork with the transactional funder. Sometimes the transactional funder is all in-house, totally seamless. There's no external paperwork, or you don't even get their name or anything. And it's so much easier than herding cats at the last minute to get that money in and back out again using transactional funders. Like when it's in-house, they know it's there. They know who to tell and who not to tell, and they make the dance happen. Different states have different laws about it, and you got to do a little dance this way over here, a little dance that way over there. Some states, like Texas, for example, like, oh, we're just long as you don't tell them to long as you don't make the buyer and the seller pay for the title insurance and you're paying for the title insurance in between, we don't have to disclose anything. Like, I like that loophole, right? Like, okay, I'll structure it so I'm paying for title insurance. And then you do credits on the other side, so then nobody has to know what's going on. There's always different ways if you start asking enough people that do these kinds of trades, right? There's different ways of pulling it off.
Yeah, Jerry's asking the question, how do I get the paper contracts assignment? Jerry, well, you can join my school community, but in reality, man, that's just Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, Perplexity, any of the AI tools, man, they'll generate a contract for you, man. Just tell them what you want. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it is just gonna.
I like that answer.
Yeah.
And then the sellers ask you for some other term in there, and like, okay, AI, how do I add that term? I like doing it with Gemini and Google Docs, because it's like seamless. You say okay, and it adds the stuff. Like it's like getting your transactional funder in house. It's just you don't have to cut and paste as much. Maybe I'm lazy, but it like just puts it together a lot easier. Yeah, there's lots of ways of doing it. It's probably like Copilot on Word or something. I don't know. I'm just used to the Google Docs versions. And the local rules and regulations, and you go pass them. You should. I'm not an attorney. You should pass them by an attorney, but nobody wants to pay those guys. And those guys are having a hard time collecting the fees with AI flying around as much as it does.
I was about to say, they got to be feeling it right now. Why? Like, we're waiting on a contract right now to be signed. Got a buyer and everything. Sort of went backwards on the job. Well, I was told the seller, the wholesaler already had it's a self-storage facility in New York, already had the property on the contract, and they didn't. We got a buyer ready to put up $15,000, everything on the property, everything. Good, we're cool with the buyer. He's waiting. He's waiting on the attorney to review his contract. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Uh-huh.
In this day and age, why would I pay an attorney to review a contract?
Yeah.
It's the prompt you use. Review this contract for me with 5th grade readability, but not like you're talking to a 5th grader. Find everything that I may need to know that would be to my benefit or not. That's it. He's like, oh my God. He's probably paying that guy $3 grand to do that.
Yeah.
And he's taking his time.
Yeah. And they take forever, and they don't cover all the bases as much as a lot of the AI technology does. But it's you still got to say you should pass it by an attorney, because if I don't say that, the local state bar sends these nasty letters that say they're going to sue me because I'm giving legal advice. So I don't know if you ever got one of those letters. If you publish enough stuff, you start seeing those letters come through. So you should still hire an attorney for all those unknown things.
It's in the contracts that I do. They're gonna always say seek legal advice, blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? But for real, somebody asked how you asked to join my community. If you text the word "vault" here, it'll automatically take you there. Dan Luke, his information will be in the description of the YouTube video here or whatever. So, and I think how do they find you on school, Luke?
On school community, if you type in commercial real estate, I think you see Ty come up and you see me come up, and a couple other people are in the front page there. And if you look at my videos on YouTube, Luke Smith or Rural Vacant Land or Reverse Deal Finder, you'll see links to them. And in all those videos, there's links back to the school community. We do a lot of work on the free side of the school community. And if you get further down the pipe and you really like this stuff and you want to go down the rabbit hole, there's a paid version down there at the bottom later on someday.
Well, I'll have a couple more questions here. Somebody make this statement here. Well, everybody should become proficient in AI in reality. Only attorneys. But is there a certain stage that's harder to wholesale in? It's some states. We're talking about residential property, but none of those rules really apply to commercial, do they? In most cases.
For the vast majority, no. States like Oklahoma and Illinois, they
were the first ones.
The wording is you're not supposed to market these things. You're not supposed to market them without being on fee simple title, not beneficial interest of some kind or equitable interest, or they've gone as far as saying equitable interest doesn't count, and that doesn't match
contract
our
law,
Constitution and Bill of Rights and all that kind of stuff. As an American, like we have the rights to create contracts and go do business. So some of the states have overstepped those bounds, and they talk about that in some of their laws. You should look them up, especially if you're looking at Oklahoma, Illinois, maybe South Carolina's been kicking in there more recently too. But it's mainly about the marketing of these things before you have bought them in.
Yeah. All right. The main thing here, guys, I think we had a good session. I learned a whole lot. I knew plasma businesses existed, but not as tenants. And look like they're a perfect match for
a lot of these buildings.
Yeah. CVS's, Rite Aids. But there are way more than I thought there were in Birmingham. But hey,
that just shows how good of a business it is, right?
I see. Yeah, that shows.
They're milking you guys. They're plugging you in and vampiring you up.
And I'm assuming. I wonder in that world, or is it like a registry where I can't go because I know it got to be limitations on how much blood you can give in a certain time frame. You have to build back up. Can I go go into multiples? Like they say, maybe you can only come 3 times a month, Is that like the max that your body can handle? Or I can go to this other place, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Because trust me, people will do it. So I wanted to have like a registry, and you can only go, you know, they're gonna know that you went to one competitor versus another, and say, no, you've already met your quota for the month. We can't take you, even though you went
Yeah,
to the place. I wonder, is that
I have no idea.
that's the
I
thing?
I talk the rent. The rest of it's over my head. AI it up, go search it up, ask them. Like, yeah,
So I guess we'll if those guys hit you back, we'll go from there, man.
yeah,
'Cause,
sounds
that,
good.
that may be an opportunity there. So, anything
Yeah,
you want to add before we get out of here?
say thank you. Thanks for hosting. Thanks for putting this together. Sorry, my internet's kind of shoddy here as I'm dodging the kids, and just I enjoy working on these kinds of properties. If you guys are into these kinds of properties, look me up. You know, let me know, Luke. You need help. I need help with this one or that one. I'll try to help you out. If you follow back to my free school community and sign up in there, post property or DM me or get back to me that way, or go replay this video. I left you my phone number and email, I think, when I was calling those people, if I didn't bleep out there. And just reach out to me. Let me know if I can help. I try to help in lots of ways. Always talking to people in this industry. It's my passion. It's my love. So feel free to bring them on, right? Thanks for hosting. Thanks, Ty.
Yeah, you see this question here. I think it's a
What's
legitimate
this one?
question.
It's my next question. Will's got a good one. How long does a deal like this take to close? You know, regular wholesale take 1 week or 2 weeks to close. So if you're wholesaling a house or a piece of land, you pull it off in a week or two, that's awesome. These spreads on these are a lot bigger. The negotiations are tougher, and they inevitably just take longer. They're not generally as fast. I mean, some of them happen fast. I've done some in 2 weeks that are 700 grand or something kind of spread, but it's an anomaly. That's not normal. You could copy one of those deals and try to look for that exact kind of outcome and probably get it with a higher repetition, but it's not normal. I think you should plan for a lot longer timeline, and I don't know how to answer the timeline question. I think if you're doing vacant land and you're flipping it for cash to a tenant or somebody that wants to go do it on their own, that could be a lot faster. If you're doing vacant building and just flipping it to a new tenant, I think that's probably the fastest. And I see some of those go in a month or two, but I think you should be planning more like 3 or 4 months to pull off a vacant QSR, put new tenant in there, go sell it as new QSR with a new tenant's credit, new tenant's rent. I think a couple 3-4 months kind of flip is more realistic. So it's not going to pay your rent this month kind of deal. But when it does go, it pay the rent for the rest of the year, for next year, or for the next couple of years. So it's a lot bigger spread, but they just take longer.
And in a lot of parts of the house, you can buy a house to live in.
Yeah, do it right. Yeah. Buy a house, live in, not pay rent anymore, right? Yeah.
All right, man.
These things.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Man, I really appreciate this, man. This was good. Like I said, we did it last week, but when we got people answering questions, you guys make it a lot easier for us just to bounce off our knowledge at that point. Not as much rambling from me anyway. But yeah, I know I learned something, got my juices flowing. Doesn't take much, and so hopefully you guys can just start to look at things differently. The end game. You got to know what the end game is before you start to even have an idea if you have a potential deal or a great deal that you can get paid without using your cash or credit, whether you have it or you don't. So, Luke, man, I really appreciate you.
Likewise. Thanks, Ty.
Sharing your time with us today, and I guess we'll figure out when we'll do another one, guys. And you all just stay out. That's why it's important to subscribe to both channels. And hit the on YouTube, hit the little bell to turn on the all, so you are alerted when we go live or when we upload new content at all times. So, man, Thanks again, and we'll see you guys on the FLIP SID.
Flip man, it's the flip man. You want some money in your hand? Flipping houses without credit or your cash.